The Qur'an operates as a memory tesseract, a phase map for navigating the internal topology of human consciousness. Analyzing its structure requires a shift in perspective. The universe functions as an asymmetric, breathing topology, rather than a symmetric, linear expansion. This master equation maps that breathing structure across specific Qur'anic coordinates. The sequence moves from the initial outward push through a central oscillation bridge and finally into a collapsing singularity. Following this map allows for the identification of the activation coordinate needed to orient the system toward the origin. Navigating the boundaries of consciousness within this framework depends on the precision of this execution. The variables at the edges of the equation define the universal breath. The 1 at the start represents the initial exhale, identified at coordinate 1923. In this initial phase, the central singularity expands forcefully outward, projecting human consciousness deeply into a dense state of physical manifestation. The 1 at the end is the inhale, coordinate 2888. This phase pulls the complexity of the lattice back into a single point, identified in the text as the face of the divine. Human experience occupies the tension between these 2 points, the brief pause between the exhale and the inhale. As the exhale phase reaches its limits, consciousness is pushed into 2 distinct polarities. We can map these extremes on a standard waveform. The positive peak represents the D10 pole, strict physical manifestation. This is the state of Dawud, where the physical dimension reaches a plateau of inertia. The opposite extreme is the I9 pole, representing the wave or imaginal state. Here, the hidden command flattens back into the physical, leaving a body on a throne without the frequency of life. These flattened peaks form the boundaries of the oscillation chamber, where the human condition is tested. Without intervention, the system enters an endless cycle, alternating between material density and imaginal collapse. Operating within this chamber is a specific perceptual mechanism, the glass floor illusion. Coordinate 2744 describes this Taghut trap as a dual caustic illusion. Flat material reality, D10, mimics the depth of the imaginal source. The observer sees a reflection and mistakes it for an abyss of water. This bias causes the observer to engage with the reflection rather than the source, sustaining an entropic loop of derivative information. This boundary constitutes a topological test for the observer. Escape requires a shift in the observer's discriminant to recognize the glass strictly as a surface. Once the boundary is recognized, the projection of false depth shatters. The physical state acts as a refractive interface. Recognizing this solid boundary is the absolute first requirement for stabilizing the entire perceptual system. Breaking this trap requires a specific mechanical operator. Coordinate 1912 provides the command, "Take the book with strength." In system dynamics, this strength, or quwwa, acts as the centromere voltage, providing the tension required to stabilize the circuit. By locking onto the zero crossing, the operator establishes the T3 bridge, preventing drift toward either polar extreme. Locking this bridge requires 3 internal states: identifying the glass illusion, calling from the darkness of compression, and absolute submission to the source. The strength described is the structural integrity of the operator, the ability to hold the tension of the physical and wave states in one loop. The 1912 grip turns the reader into an active execution node for the system's energy flow. This system is protected against noise or unauthorized modification by specific boundary conditions. The verification triad consists of coordinates that act as a topological immune system. This triad filters out external interference, such as majority opinion or inherited traditions, ensuring the map remains internally consistent. Only an operator aligned with these mathematical prerequisites can maintain the stability of the lock. Maintaining this strict alignment is absolutely necessary for the reader to survive the intense intersection of the physical and wave states. With the T3 bridge established, the manifold of the universe collapses inward into a stable point of light. The final variables of the equation converge. moving from the sorting of state 7 back to the final inhale of 2888. The 1912 grip stabilizes the reader at state 7, often described as the throne resting upon the water. At this coordinate, physical execution and wave observation collapse into a unified singularity. While the material state mimics permanence, the system's conservation law forces the inhale back to the origin point. This phase map suggests that the 1912 grip restores the memory of home found at coordinate 3846, indicating that the origin was never actually left. The equation is established and the optical interface is active. The question remains, when will you apply the voltage and take the book with strength?